He was known to the world as a billionaire, but very few people knew the man behind the success. His life looked perfect from the outside. Big businesses, luxury cars, international meetings, and a large private villa surrounded by high walls. Yet, behind all that wealth, his days felt long and quiet. He had achieved everything people dream of, but somewhere along the way, happiness had stopped visiting him. After years of non-stop work, he decided to take a break from the public eye. He returned to his private home, hoping the silence would help him rest. The house was beautiful, with wide glass windows, green gardens, and a large swimming pool that reflected the sky. Everything was clean, expensive, and perfectly designed, but the house felt empty, like it was missing a heartbeat. Every morning followed the same routine. He woke up early, drank coffee by the window, checked messages, and walked around the garden. The staff moved quietly, doing their work without drawing attention. He barely noticed them. Not because he was rude, but because his mind was always somewhere else. He was tired of conversations that revolved around money, power, deals. Among the staff was a young woman who worked long hours every day. She came from a simple background and carried responsibilities much bigger than her age. Her family depended on her income, and this job meant survival. She kept herself invisible, always careful, always respectful. She believed that rich people lived in a different world, one she could never be part of. Her days were exhausting. Cleaning rooms, arranging things, following instructions. She rarely complained. She had learned early in life that complaining did not change anything. What kept her going were small moments of peace, a deep breath in the garden, the sound of water in the pool, the quiet sky in the evening. There was one strict rule in the house that everyone knew. The pool was not for staff. It was a luxury space meant only for the owner and his guests. She never questioned that rule. She only admired the pool from a distance while passing by with cleaning supplies. The billionaire noticed the pool often too. It reminded him of vacations he never enjoyed, moments he never truly lived. Even when he sat near it, he felt alone. Friends came and went. Relationships never lasted. People were always impressed by his money, never curious about his heart. He believed he had chosen this life. He thought loneliness was the price of success. But deep inside, a part of him wondered if something had gone wrong. He had everything except someone who saw him as just a human being. One evening, he stayed out later than usual. Meetings dragged on, and his head was heavy with thoughts. When he finally decided to return home, he expected the same silence, the same routine. He didn't know that his quiet world was about to shift in the most unexpected way. Back at the house, the staff finished their work. The young woman felt unusually tired that day. Her body ached, and her mind felt crowded with worries. The house was quiet. She believed everyone had left for the day. As she walked past the pool, she stopped. The water looked calm. The sky reflected softly on its surface. For a moment, she forgot where she was. She remembered her childhood, when she used to play near rivers, feeling free and alive. That memory stirred something inside her. She stood there, fighting with her thoughts. She knew the rules. She knew the risk. But she also knew she needed just a few minutes to breathe, to feel human again. She looked around. No one was there. Slowly, carefully. She made a choice that would change everything. At the same time, the billionaire's car turned into the driveway. He wasn't expecting anything unusual. He walked through the house, loosening his tie, feeling the familiar emptiness around him. He decided to step outside for some fresh air. As he walked toward the pool area, he heard a sound that didn't belong to silence. Water moving. A quiet splash. He stopped. For the first time in a long while, his attention was fully present. Something unexpected was happening in his own home. Something that would soon connect to very different lives under the same sky, and neither of them knew that this ordinary evening was about to become the beginning of a story no one could have planned. The moment he saw her in the pool, time seemed to stop. He could not believe what he was seeing. A young woman, someone who worked in his house, was in the water, breaking a rule he had never allowed to be broken. For a second, he felt shock, even anger rising in his chest. But when he looked closer, he saw the exhaustion in her eyes. The way her body carried tiredness from long hours of work. The way she held herself as if every day was a struggle. She froze the moment she noticed him. Her heart jumped. She knew she had broken the rules, and she could imagine the consequences. She opened her mouth, trying to explain, but words failed her. Her mind raced, thinking about what he might say, how angry he might be. She had never been in this position, never faced a person of such power so directly. Fear mixed with embarrassment making her cheeks warm. He did not shout. He did not move quickly. He just stood there watching her with curiosity rather than anger. The silence was long and heavy. Finally, he asked, in a calm voice, why she was in the pool. Her voice trembled, but she told him the truth. She explained that she had been tired, overworked, and needed a moment of peace. She had wanted only to feel the water, to breathe, to have a small escape from the life that never gave her time to rest. She did not try to hide her feelings. She spoke honestly, and in that honesty, he found something unexpected. He did not feel anger. He felt concern. He felt an unusual curiosity for a person he had barely noticed before. He walked closer, keeping his distance to respect her space. He asked gentle questions, not about the rules she had broken, but about her life. She spoke quietly, telling him small details, how she worked hard to support her family, how life had been difficult, how little she had experienced outside her daily responsibilities. Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that no business deal or financial report ever had. He listened, genuinely. He did not interrupt. He did not give advice or tell her how lucky she was to work in a rich house. He just listened. And for the first time in years, he felt a connection that had nothing to do with money or status. It was the pure curiosity of wanting to understand another human being. After some time, he asked her to step out of the pool, offering a towel and some water. She hesitated, unsure whether his gesture was kind or a warning, but he smiled gently, and she realized he meant no harm. She accepted the towel, wrapped herself, and stood quietly. Feeling both nervous and relieved, they continued to talk near the poolside. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the water. For a few hours, the world outside seemed to disappear. The vast house, the walls, the rules, the expectations, even the wealth and loneliness he had carried, all seemed distant. It was just the two of them, sharing words, sharing small stories of their lives. In the following days, he found himself thinking about that evening more than he expected. He remembered her voice, her honesty, her simple way of describing life. For the first time, he realized that he had been living without truly seeing anyone, without truly connecting. People admired his wealth, but no one had ever truly noticed him. But she had, in her quiet and unassuming way. Meanwhile, she could not forget him either. His calm demeanor, his attentive listening, and the unexpected kindness had left an impression she never thought she would carry. She felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. Could a person with his life, his power, really see her as more than a worker? Could he really care about her feelings? She did not know, but the seed of curiosity had been planted. Neither of them knew that this moment was only the beginning. A small act of breaking a rule, a few minutes of honesty. It started a connection that would grow in ways neither of them could imagine. And though their lives were from very different worlds, for the first time, they were not defined by those differences. They were just two human beings, sharing a quiet evening. Discovering that the heart can see what the eyes often miss, days passed after the incident at the pool. But neither of them could forget it. Small moments kept reminding them of that evening. He noticed her in the kitchen, moving quietly among the staff. He watched the way she focused on her work, her movements careful and precise. Yet there was something gentle in her presence. It made him pause, to look at her not just as someone who worked in his house, but as a person who carried a story he wanted to understand. She, too, found herself thinking about him often. She remembered the way he had spoken, the patience in his voice, and the way he had genuinely listened. It was different from the way anyone else treated her. Even though he was a billionaire, he had not acted superior. Instead, he had treated her as if she mattered, as if her life and feelings were important. The thought was both thrilling and frightening. She knew the difference in their worlds, and she worried about what might happen if anyone found out about their conversations. Over time, he found small excuses to talk to her. A question about the garden, a comment about the food, even a light conversation about the weather. It was never forced, never too long, just enough to keep the connection growing. Each exchange, each small moment, gave them both a sense of comfort and understanding that they had never experienced before. She started noticing subtle changes in him, too. The way he smiled when he saw something she had done well, the way he remembered details she had shared, the way he seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts. It was strange for her to be treated like this, and yet it felt safe. For the first time in a long time, she felt that someone truly cared about her beyond her work or her role in the house. One afternoon, as she arranged the flowers in the garden, he walked by and stopped. He watched her for a moment, then spoke about the colors and the way the sunlight touched the petals. She felt nervous at first, unsure of how to respond. But soon the conversation became natural, flowing easily between them. They talked about simple things: nature, memories from childhood, hopes for the future. Each conversation made her feel seen, appreciated, respected. He began to realize that these conversations mattered more to him than he had expected. The loneliness that had been part of his life for years started to ease, replaced by a curiosity about her world. He learned about her dreams, her fears, the little joys she found in life. He admired her strength, the way she managed hardships without complaint, and her ability to find light in even small moments. She, in turn, started to feel a warmth she had never known before. She had always believed that love and connection were for other people, for those with perfect lives, not for someone like her. But now, she began to hope, cautiously, that perhaps a connection with someone like him was possible. She did not know what the future held, but for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine it. Despite their growing bond, both of them were aware of the risks. She worried about her position in the house and the potential consequences of getting too close. He worried about the judgment of society, his friends, and even his family. The world they lived in was full of expectations and assumptions, and their connection defied all of them. Yet, they continued to find ways to talk, to share, and to understand each other. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the villa, they found themselves near the pool again. This time, it was not about breaking rules or escaping reality. It was about two people from different worlds, discovering something rare and valuable: a sense of trust, a sense of being understood, and the beginning of a connection that went beyond appearances. They talked quietly, not needing grand gestures or declarations. Words flowed naturally, and silence was comfortable. For the first time, they both felt that they could be themselves, without masks or pretenses. In those moments, the boundaries of wealth and status did not exist. There was only understanding, respect, and a shared human experience. As the evening ended, they parted ways with a sense of anticipation. Neither knew what the future would hold, but both knew that something important had begun. A bond was forming, one that had started in an unexpected place and under unusual circumstances, but one that held the promise of deeper connection. And so, life continued, with small conversations, shared glances, and moments that grew in meaning. The billionaire began to see life through a different lens, one that valued understanding and empathy over power and wealth. The young woman began to see herself as someone who could be seen and valued, someone whose voice mattered. Together, they were beginning a journey neither had expected, a journey that would challenge norms, defy expectations, and show that the heart could find connection even in the most unlikely places. As the days turned into weeks, their connection deepened, but it was not without challenges. Life in the house continued as it always had, with rules and expectations that seemed to pull them in opposite directions. Staff whispered among themselves, noticing the growing closeness. And the young woman felt the weight of their eyes, wondering what might happen if anyone discovered the truth. She worried about judgment, about her position, about being misunderstood. She had always followed the rules carefully. And now, she felt a quiet fear she had never experienced before. He, too, faced pressure. Friends and business associates often reminded him of the life he had built and the image he was expected to maintain. They assumed he would pursue relationships only with people from his world, people with wealth and status. The idea of someone from outside that world sharing his life seemed impossible to them, and their comments stung, though he tried not to show it. He had always valued his privacy, and now the private thoughts he shared with her felt even more fragile, like something precious that could be lost if exposed to judgment. Despite these pressures, they found ways to continue their conversations. It was in stolen moments, quick exchanges in the kitchen, brief chats in the garden, a shared smile across a room that they maintained the growing bond between them. Each word, each glance carried meaning. They learned to read each other in ways that went beyond spoken language. They understood moods, unspoken feelings, and small acts of care that spoke louder than words. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the air grew cooler, he decided to take a small risk. He approached her while she was tidying the pool area. He spoke softly, careful not to draw attention, and asked if she wanted to take a short walk in the garden. She hesitated for a moment, aware of the risks, but the gentle tone in his voice reassured her. She nodded quietly, and together they walked among the flowers and trees. The sky painted with the colors of sunset during that walk, they spoke more openly than they had before. She shared her dreams, small, quiet hopes she had carried for years but never voiced. She spoke of wanting to travel, to learn, to see places beyond the house and the city that had confined her. He listened attentively, feeling a mixture of admiration and longing. He admired her resilience and her courage, and he began to realize that he wanted to support her dreams, not as a billionaire giving gifts, but as someone who genuinely cared. He also shared parts of his life, though cautiously. He spoke of the loneliness that often accompanied his wealth, the moments of doubt and the longing for connection that money could never buy. She listened, not with judgment, but with empathy. Her responses were simple, sincere, and comforting. And he felt a warmth that he had not experienced in years. Yet, despite their closeness, fear lingered. The world outside the villa was not always kind to unconventional connections. They both understood that their growing feelings could lead to complications. She worried about being seen as opportunistic, about losing her job, about being judged for stepping outside the role she had always played. He worried about scandal, about gossip, about the assumptions of those around him. But they also realized that avoiding these feelings entirely was impossible. The bond they shared was real, human, and undeniable. One day, as she was working in the garden, he called her over to sit by the pool. The sunlight danced on the water, and for a moment they sat in comfortable silence. Then he spoke, not about wealth, not about rules, but about feelings. He admitted that he had come to care deeply for her, not because of her presence in the house or any role she played, but because of who she was as a person. Her honesty, kindness, and strength had touched him in ways he could not ignore. She listened, her heart racing, unsure of how to respond. The emotions she had been feeling quietly over weeks and months now had words attached to them. She realized that she felt something similar, though fear still made her cautious. She was careful to choose her words, expressing that she valued their connection but needed time to understand what it meant. She did not want to act impulsively or compromise her own sense of self. That conversation became a turning point. For the first time, they spoke openly about the possibility of a relationship, about the challenges they would face, and about the choices they would need to make. They acknowledged the pressures of society, the potential for judgment, and the risks involved. But they also acknowledged the importance of honesty, trust, respect in any connection they hoped to build. After that day, their interactions changed subtly. There was more warmth in their conversations, more laughter, and more moments of genuine care. They continued to navigate the world of the house, the staff, and the rules. But now with a quiet understanding that what they shared was real and meaningful. Each shared smile, each gentle gesture, became a reminder that their bond was not defined by wealth, status, or circumstance, but but by the human connection that had begun in a simple, unexpected moment. As the days passed, they continued to grow closer, finding strength in each other and courage to face the challenges outside the villa. Their connection was no longer just about stolen glances or quiet conversations. It was about building trust, understanding, and a foundation for something deeper. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, but they also knew that what they had discovered in each other was rare and valuable. A reminder that love and connection often emerge in the most unexpected places, even when the world seems to be against it. The days that followed were filled with a quiet, growing understanding between them. They had shared truths, fears, and dreams, and the connection had deepened into something neither of them could ignore. Despite the differences in their worlds, the bond they shared became a source of comfort, joy, and courage. Every glance, every smile, every simple conversation carried weight. They were no longer just the billionaire and the young woman from the staff. They were two people learning to navigate a connection that defied expectations. One afternoon, he asked her to accompany him on a walk outside the villa, somewhere private where they could speak freely. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Leaving the familiar grounds of the house brought a sense of adventure, but also fear of exposure. Yet, she trusted him and the sincerity he had shown over weeks of quiet conversations. Together, they walked down a quiet path lined with trees, the sun casting warm patterns on the ground. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of leaves and flowers, and the usual tension of the villa felt distant. During the walk, he spoke about the future not in terms of business or wealth, but in terms of life, connection, and care. He admitted that he wanted to be part of her life, to support her dreams and to face challenges together. His words were simple but powerful, carrying the weight of genuine emotion. He did not speak with grandeur or promises of riches. He spoke with honesty, with vulnerability, and with hope. She listened, feeling a warmth that spread through her chest. A mixture of relief, joy, and a quiet courage she had not known she possessed. She responded carefully, expressing her feelings, her fears, and her hope. She had grown to care deeply for him. But she also wanted a relationship built on mutual respect, understanding, and equality. She did not want to feel small or dependent. She wanted to be seen, heard, and valued for who she was, not her position or background. He listened, nodding, accepting her words with patience and humility. He promised that their connection would be based on honesty, trust, and mutual care. There was no rush, no pressure, only a commitment to navigate life together, step by step. In the following days, their relationship slowly became visible in small, subtle ways. The staff noticed the gentle gestures, the shared laughter, the quiet understanding that passed between them. But even as whispers spread, they remained careful, focusing on the bond itself rather than the opinions of others. The world outside could judge, but within their shared moments, there was a sanctuary built on trust and empathy. Life was not without challenges. Society and expectations did not disappear, and both of them knew that their relationship would be tested. Yet each challenge only strengthened their commitment. They learned to communicate openly, to express concerns without fear, and to support each other in moments of doubt. Their bond became a source of courage, teaching them that vulnerability could be a strength, and honesty could create connection where barriers seemed insurmountable. They also discovered joy in simple things. A shared cup of tea in the garden, a quiet conversation by the pool, a walk under the stars. These moments became the foundation of their growing love. They learned to cherish the ordinary, finding extraordinary meaning in human connection, laughter, and shared presence. Each day added a layer of depth to their relationship, reminding them that love is not about wealth, power, or status, but about understanding, respect, and shared humanity. Eventually, they began to imagine a future together. Not a fantasy, but a real, attainable life where both of them could be themselves, grow together, and support each other. They planned small steps, traveling, learning, experiencing life beyond the walls of the villa. Each plan was made with care, ensuring that both voices were heard and valued. They celebrated each small achievement and comforted each other in moments of doubt. Their journey was not about perfection, but about genuine connection and mutual growth. Over time, the villa, which had once felt empty and silent, became a place of warmth and life. Laughter echoed through the halls, shared moments brought color to the rooms, and the bond between them became the heart of the house. Staff and friends gradually noticed a transformation, not just in the way they interacted, but in the energy of the home itself. Love, they realized, had a way of changing everything, even in places they least expected. In the end, what began with a small, unexpected moment by the pool became a story of courage, understanding, and human connection. They proved to themselves that love could emerge anywhere, even across worlds that seemed so different. They had faced fear, societal pressure, and personal doubts, yet their commitment to honesty and respect had allowed their connection to flourish. Together, they had discovered that true love is built on empathy, patience, and shared humanity, not wealth, status, or appearances. And so their story continued, a reminder that the heart often finds what the eyes cannot see. In the quiet moments, in the laughter, in the shared dreams and small gestures, they found something rare and precious. Love had come unexpectedly, in a place neither had planned, and yet it had created a life full of meaning, connection, and hope for the future. The billionaire and the young woman from the staff had discovered that real life, with all its challenges and uncertainties, could still hold moments of beauty, joy, and love that transcended all boundaries. As time passed, their connection continued to grow stronger. Moving beyond simple conversations or stolen moments in the house, the bond they shared had become part of their daily lives, a quiet but constant presence that brought both comfort and excitement. Each day, they learned more about each other, discovering layers of personality, humor, and warmth that went far beyond first impressions. Life, with its challenges and routines, had become a shared journey rather than a solitary path. The billionaire found himself noticing things he had never paid attention to before. The way she paused to appreciate small details in the garden, the way she laughed at simple jokes, the way her eyes lit up when speaking about things she loved. These details, which might have seemed insignificant to others, had a profound effect on him. He realized that wealth and success had never given him the ability to truly see, to really notice the beauty in simple human moments. Her presence reminded him of that missing part of life. She, too, was learning to see him differently. Beyond the status, the money, and the title, she saw a man who was capable of vulnerability, someone who carried responsibilities and burdens yet still held space for kindness, understanding, and respect. She noticed the care in his gestures, the patience in his words, and the way he treated her as an equal, not someone beneath him. Her trust in him deepened, and with it, a growing sense of security and hope. Their days became a delicate balance of routine and discovery. They continued with their daily responsibilities, but now these were interwoven with moments of connection. Sometimes it was sharing a quiet breakfast, other times walking together in the garden, or sitting by the pool in silence, simply enjoying each other's presence. These moments were not extravagant or planned. They were ordinary, yet each carried extraordinary meaning because they were shared with someone who understood and cared. The world outside the villa continued to carry its judgments and expectations. Friends, family, and colleagues sometimes questioned the nature of their connection, subtly or openly. There were whispers and assumptions, but both of them had learned to navigate this pressure together. They supported each other in facing doubts, external criticism, and internal fears. Over time, they became a team, facing challenges not as individuals, but as partners, united by a bond that had grown stronger with each shared experience. One day, he suggested they visit a quiet place outside the city, somewhere private and peaceful. She hesitated at first, worried about leaving the familiar environment of the villa, but he reassured her that it would be a safe space for them to relax and talk openly. When they arrived, the beauty of the location, the gentle hills, the flowing water, the calm air made them both pause. It was a space untouched by the pressures of their usual lives. a place where they could simply be themselves as they walked along a winding path. Their conversation turned deeper than ever before. They spoke about dreams, fears, and the ways their lives had shaped them. He shared moments of loneliness and doubt, while she spoke about resilience and hope. There was no judgment, no expectation, just honesty and understanding. In that moment, the walls that society and circumstance had built around them seemed to vanish. They were two human beings, connected by trust and empathy. They laughed together, shared quiet reflections, and sometimes sat in companionable silence, letting the beauty of the environment and the simplicity of the moment speak for itself. Each gesture, each word, became a building block for a relationship rooted not in material wealth or status, but in authenticity and care. They were learning to value presence, communication, and the small ways people show love and respect for one another. Returning to the villa, they faced the familiar challenges of daily life with renewed energy and confidence. Staff and visitors noticed the subtle changes in their demeanor, ease in conversation, a warmth in interactions, a quiet confidence in their companionship. Their bond had begun to radiate outward, affecting the atmosphere of the home itself. The villa, once quiet and formal, now felt alive with shared moments and understanding. As weeks turned into months, they also began to envision a future together. It was not a fantasy built on wealth or material possessions, but a life filled with mutual respect, shared experiences, and understanding. They spoke about small goals, like traveling together, learning new skills, and exploring life beyond the villa's walls. They planned thoughtfully, ensuring that each step considered both of their needs and perspectives. It was a future built on equality, trust, and love. Challenges continued to arise, of course. External pressures, societal assumptions, and personal insecurities tested their commitment. Yet every challenge became an opportunity to strengthen their connection. They faced doubts openly, communicated without fear, and supported each other with patience and care. Over time, they discovered that love, when nurtured with honesty and respect, could overcome even the most unlikely obstacles. Their relationship grew not only in depth, but also in joy. Simple activities, watching sunsets, sharing meals, reading together, became meaningful experiences. They discovered the beauty of ordinary life, learning that true connection comes not from grand gestures, but from shared understanding, empathy, and the willingness to see and accept each other fully. Each day, their trust, admiration, and care for one another deepened, creating a bond that felt unshakable. Eventually, they became inseparable, partners in every sense of the word. Their story, which had begun unexpectedly at the pool, had evolved into a life built on love, trust, and shared humanity. They faced the world together, supporting each other through challenges, celebrating small victories, and finding joy in the everyday. Their connection served as a reminder that real love is not defined by wealth, status, or societal expectations, but by understanding, respect, and the courage to embrace the unexpected. In the end, the billionaire and the young woman discovered that life's most profound moments often come when least expected. From a simple, unexpected encounter, it built a relationship that transcended barriers, defied assumptions, and brought meaning, joy, blood, and love into their lives. Their journey was a testament to the power of connection, the strength of honesty, and the beauty of finding love where it is least anticipated, yet most deserved. Life after the acceptance of their feelings was not perfect, but it was real, and that made it special. The billionaire and the young woman continued to navigate their worlds, now with a growing understanding that their relationship had changed everything. They were aware of the differences in their lives, the judgments that could come from others, and the challenges that lay ahead. Yet instead of being overwhelmed, they found strength in each other. Every morning began with small gestures of care, and every night ended with quiet reflections on the moments they had shared. Their connection deepened through shared experiences that went beyond the walls of the villa. They traveled to nearby towns and quiet places where no one knew them, exploring life outside the confines of wealth and service. She saw parts of the world she had never imagined, and he experienced life through her eyes, appreciating simple joys he had long ignored. A walk by a river, tasting local food, or watching a festival became moments of discovery and bonding. These trips were not about extravagance, but about being present with one another and learning to see the world together. Back at the villa, dynamics among staff and friends slowly began to shift. The bond between them became visible, not in arrogance or display, but in subtle gestures of mutual respect and care. The staff started to notice the way he would ensure she had the time and space she needed, and the way she would offer her thoughts and opinions with confidence. Their relationship became a quiet example of mutual support, showing that trust and kindness could exist even across worlds that seemed so different. They faced challenges, as expected. Some days brought criticism from those who did not understand their connection, whispers about propriety, and questions about how a relationship between them could work. They also dealt with internal doubts and insecurities about the future, fears of missteps, and uncertainty about whether they could truly maintain equality and respect in their dynamic. Yet, every challenge they faced became an opportunity to communicate, to reinforce trust, and to demonstrate patience and understanding. One evening, after a long day, they sat by the pool in the fading sunlight. The water reflected the orange and pink hues of the sky, and for a moment the world outside seemed to fade. He spoke quietly about his fears, the weight of his public image, expectations of society, and the pressure of maintaining his business empire. She listened, not with judgment, but with empathy, sharing her own feelings of vulnerability, her hope for connection, and her desire to be seen as an equal partner. The conversation was long and unhurried, filled with honesty and mutual understanding. When they finished, they felt closer than ever, strengthened by the shared acknowledgement of their challenges and their commitment to face them together as their bond grew. They also found ways to celebrate each other's successes and to comfort one another in moments of doubt. Small victories like a successful day at work or an accomplishment in learning something new were shared and cherished. Difficult days were met with support, gentle words, and quiet gestures that reinforced the depth of their connection. They discovered that love was not just about grand expressions, but about consistent care, understanding, and empathy. Their conversations began to explore deeper aspects of life and purpose. They discussed hopes for the future, the values they wanted to uphold, and the kind of life they wanted to build together. She spoke about her dreams of learning, traveling, and making a difference in ways that were meaningful to her. He spoke about using his influence and resources to create positive impact. Guided by the empathy and perspective he had gained through her eyes, each conversation added depth to their understanding of each other and of what their partnership could become. Over time, they also began to integrate their lives more fully. While respecting her independence and her need for personal space, he invited her into aspects of his world she had never seen: the decision-making, the planning, and the opportunities to contribute her perspective. She, in turn, brought insights and ideas from her own experiences, enriching his understanding of life beyond wealth and status. Together, they created a rhythm that balanced individuality with partnership, and ambition with care. They continued to find joy in ordinary moments, cooking meals together, sharing quiet evenings in the garden, and enjoying simple laughter became treasured routines. They learned that love is often found in these small, consistent moments, where presence, attentiveness, and genuine care matter more than wealth, luxury, or recognition. Each day reinforced their belief that connection is built through understanding, patience, and shared humanity. As months passed, the villa transformed. It became not just a home, but a space filled with warmth, understanding, and life. Their connection influenced those around them, creating an environment of respect, empathy, and subtle celebration of human relationships. Friends and staff, while initially cautious, began to see the beauty of a bond built on authenticity rather than expectation or status. Eventually, they began to discuss long-term plans together. It was not about extravagant promises, but about shared goals, mutual growth, and a life filled with meaning. They planned to travel more, explore new opportunities, and create experiences that mattered to both of them. Each decision was made thoughtfully, ensuring that both voices were heard and valued equally. They were building a life that was grounded in trust, understanding, and the simple but profound principle that love is strongest when it nurtures both people equally. In the quiet moments of reflection, they often looked back on the day they met by the pool. What had begun as a chance encounter, a moment of breaking rules and unexpected vulnerability, had grown into a relationship defined by trust, care, and mutual respect. They realized that life's most significant connections often arise in the most unlikely places, requiring courage, honesty, and the willingness to see the humanity in another person. Their story continued, not as a tale of wealth or status, but as a testament to the power of understanding, patience, and shared life. Every challenge they faced, every moment of joy, every small act of care became part of a tapestry that was uniquely theirs. They had discovered that true love is not about perfection or circumstance, but about commitment, empathy, and the courage to embrace life together, step by step, hand in hand, heart to heart.